Well, what's going on, guys? 12:34 in the morning, West Coast time. It is the 28th of December, 2024. Normally, I'll be doing this kind of feed instead of a live feed. I'll do a live feed a little bit later. I just don't know. Hopefully, before the New Year's kick in. Okay, so it is before 12:35 in the morning. It is the 28th of December, 2024, for Saturday. The Weaver John C. of Roseman, California. Yeah, you notice I had a clean shirt on. Dug it out of the hangers. Yeah, unless it doesn't break. Okay, politics. Yeah, shall we get into that ugly thing? I mean, I could take off the shirt and just deal with the politics with a Grody shirt. But we're doing that to ourselves, aren't we? Trying to keep up with the Joneses, as they say. But, they really got me stressed out. Both corporate and independent media. And I knew these guys were going to go after each other. They're going to be piranhas to each other. Both snipping and sniping at each other. And they're still doing it. The independent big boys to smaller boys trying to get their own eye teeth cut while listening and learning and having conniption fits and laughters about corporate media losing out on viewerships because of what happened. Oh, for how many years since we've had the politics kick in? I mean, seriously, when we have people screaming and yelling at each other and personal attacks left and right. I'm trying not to use names. I guess we all know the players. Have we all been following news? Even a social media platform that got bought out by a rich guy is now in trouble with some of the people that he keeps kicking off. He wants things free. He wants free this and free that. He wants, he wants, he wants, because he's a mega millionaire, or actually a mega billionaire, and he don't care. And other people are spouting off saying that we don't like what you're saying or doing at this point over here. Hell, we don't even like the other guy that you are associated with or barely associated with because of an orange gas bag said you guys are going to be in but we have conflict with that too. So whatever's happening in the MAGA world, it's affecting anybody and everybody at the same time. I mean, they are royally snipping and sniping at each other on this one. How do you deal with it? From what I keep hearing from some of the independents, and they're trying to check out the numbers and the polling, the corporate media are hemorrhaging. Now, how much did we happen to get from these guys? How much vitriol and anger? And we're still getting it even after the election. Now we get more of the fear mongering, even from the independents, and they're not quite so sure what to make sense of the damn thing either, because you have an unstable, newly elected POTUS who's got chaos and confusion, and as I said before a long time ago, I blame the voters because they wanted it. They wanted to get Trump back in office because they couldn't deal with Biden or a structured thing, and they sure as hell couldn't deal with the situations happening in the Middle East that Biden kind of supported in one way or another, and so did Harris following it. And we're still seeing genocide happening. We're still seeing Middle East trying to kill each other. Is this cycle going to continue? Hell, I don't know. Israel's still trying to pummel the dust and dirt of Gaza, trying to get the so-called hostages freed. I said so-called because I don't know if they're alive or dead, to tell you the truth. There's never been an indication whether or not they're still alive or dead. And it was insane that it happened. More than a year. Shouldn't have happened, but it happened. And now you got other people saying, ooh, good, property out in Gaza we can actually have. Both Israelis and foreign powers saying, good, let's use it. Including the rich boys out here in the U.S. wants that. Moving or exterminating the Palestinian people just for real estate. This is the ultimate thing. Rich want it all. I yeah, it's no, it just doesn't work. When our planet is going to be decimated in ashfall because they wanted a war to keep the lower half occupied while the rich just keep living off the fat. When the planet gets decimated, how are we going to be responding and how are we going to be recovering from that? No, I'm sorry, the rich people will find some way to barricade themselves, dig into a tunnel, maybe even create a satellite called Elysium. I watch movies, I read books from time to time. I look at the themes. We've played this, I don't know, for over a century. We fantasized about certain outcomes. We talked about certain outcomes in different forms and fashions and stuff. To where one of the billionaires who was going to be partnered up with another billionaire, he thinks Americans are fat and lazy and stuck in the 80s. How's the asshole? And I'm sorry, he did immigrate to the United States, so he didn't grow up under the culture we did. Us older farts. I'm pushing 59 in January. I grew up in the 80s. Hell, I was born in the 60s, nearly at the end of the Vietnam War. I'd seen the 1970s with the energy crisis and the Middle East going hell in a handbasket. I'd seen two Middle East um, leaders of countries hammer out a peace treaty with each other. And they'll probably get killed by their own people. I also seen another country turned totally Islamic, and not totally Islamic, totally nutso, radical Islamic. How the hell would you call it? Kidnapped American hostages. The president comes in, who's a Hollywood actor, but he had previous government position. He used to be a governor in California, scared the crap out of people, except for the conservatives. Canceled a lot of programs that we have to deal with today because of those stupid actions of his. And unfortunately, he's dead. But the legacy still lives on. His actions had marred and stripped a lot of people out. My brother had respect because he was commander in chief. That was the only thing he had respect for. Everything else, forget it. And never respect for the conservative party anyway. All they wanted to do is strip mine everything and just rake up the dough and say screw everybody, including the work people and people who couldn't work or tried to work. 80s, 90s, tell me about it. I went through school during that time. I went through school during a time when we were being threatened by nuclear war and then earthquakes. Went to college and screwed up 2 years of it. I'm not saying like, oh, I'm proud of it. No, because I know I made a hell of a lot of mistakes by then. I look at it with sadness, maturity, and realized I didn't have what it took because I learned a hell of a lot and applying it now as an adult. I can't go back to fix it. I can't go back in time to fix my own damn stupidity and mistakes because I needed to learn a lot of things before getting into college. How to mature, how to be mature, how to keep my grades going, how to keep discipline going for myself. I didn't have that. I didn't have that. I have it now. I have it now. I have the love of learning, of understanding. And then I'm feeling sad about it because the more I keep learning about what the hell's going on in the world and everything else in the past, I see more and more connections than I do ever. Because there's no way in hell I was going to be seeing those kind of connections as a youth. He has youthful energy, but are you actually listening to the people who have actually seen stuff in the past, read the books, and understand what the hell they were talking about? No, because the perspective wasn't there. It was never there. I had to take age and maturity for that one. And by this time, thieves are saying, "We know better than you." Well, now I hear the ghosts from the past saying, "We told you so. You didn't listen to us." Yeah, I know. I'll sit out of my shoulder on this one. So now we got to deal with the reality. I have to pass the baton to the new age and see if the new age can actually screw themselves even further. While the old age just shrivels up and passes away without a thought, without memory, or without anything. Despite the fact we got social media with the zeros and ones and able to store stuff on drives left and right. Oh, I'm sorry. Does electromagnetic energy have a way of screwing things up? I think so. So that being said, how would you like to dealing with political party that's tearing itself apart left and right, hasn't even taken any office yet, and can't even get its act together in Congress? Of course, people on social media are going after each other, not to mention hit guys left and right. The voters wanted chaos and confusion. Congratulations, guys. You want to see how America functions in your style of thinking? Here we go. And we are going to crash and burn. It's that simple. Either America will go through a testing and trial and tribulations, or else we're going the way like everybody else had when they had democracy. Bye bye. All because the voters want to change and they couldn't see what the hell was going on in front of them. But the problem is, when you're dealing with politics, it's like dealing with a chess game. How is one person going to react, and what's the move going to be like? In a chess game, I wish I was a chess. I wish I was a chess guru. I could tell you about more of it. How to plan your moves. Which particular character is going to be able to move on the board. What you could do, what you couldn't do. Chess is a learning man's game. You're learning things. You're learning how to get your ass kicked, but you're learning how not to get your ass kicked at the same time. It's not the wins you're looking for. It's strategy. It's plotting. How things work in a strategy. Hell, I did online games for strategy. Played those. Me versus the computer. I discovered the computer was locked into its own patterns, that I could easily defeat it left and right. It would happen to put it on hard. Doesn't make me a guru at it. I had to find ways to get around the damn thing. If it means I cheat in certain aspects, then I'm a cheater. But I can't cheat when I'm watching something of a group that still can't get solidification going on. And I can't actually say I'm a cheater in my country and my government and everything else stands for, because that's just not quote unquote American or patriotic. We got our own senses of what American and patriotism and what it means to be this or what it means to be that. And social norms, customs. Yeah. So what's the social norm or custom when you think you're American? You think you're born American, but just discovered you're not American. Now, is it about legality? Hereditary? Is it about bloodline? Is it politics? People still can't define themselves as American, what that is. And once they do, are they indeed a traitor to everybody else who wants to be ultra patriotic, or just saying, "You're a liar, cheat, and a thief, and a con man. How dare you?" You look at the history and said, "Yep. I claim manifest destiny. What do you claim?" Look that term up. When you're in history classes, you hear it a lot. When you read history books, it's buried in there. When you hear about autobiographies from folks of old ages writing about their lives, you get the sense of it. You get the feel of it. An ego-driven need for conquest must be number one. Must rule. Must. Because, and there's no way of deciphering because. I'm seeing these groups going after each other left and right just because they want people we just voted into office, and for the first 2 weeks we're going to be seeing this insanity going on. Are we still going to be retaining a gas bag for a president? Are we retaining some guy who doesn't know his ass about hot rock for a vice president? Or do we got two prime ministers that think they're going to be running the country because they're rich? Talk about your priorities at this point. My priority right now is I just heard the whump and the whining of my dog. She's wondering where I am. She's calling. So I don't know how we're going to do this. How are we going to be able to look at ourselves? How are we going to be able to act? How are we going to be able to function? How are we going to be able to articulate ourselves? Are we supposed to be intelligent and articulating? Are we supposed to have tech skills? Because according to one rich bastard who was naturalized in the country but not born as a U.S. citizen, not born of the time zone he keeps insulting left and right. So I don't know what's going on with this guy's head. Born with the intelligence, but also with the arrogance that goes along with it. He doesn't like intelligent people because it might challenge his ass. Oh boy, that's scary, isn't it? He can rattle off word salad. Like the other poor schmuck who keeps running a social media, took out a lot of people and tried to run it without them when he bought the place. And now it's even worse than before. But he wants free speech. Sure, he wants to hear all the damn sound boxes going off left and right. He thinks that's free speech. That's not free. Free speech is also where you're contradicting each other and you have discussions, you have arguments, and you're trying to prove your point. He doesn't want that. He just wants one word, his. But his version and his way of doing things is me over everybody else. Screw you. Because I'm rich and I want more. Meanwhile, the independents and the corporate media will be struggling for the next 4 years. Whether or not they'll be surviving or not, that's going to be, I don't know, up to who. I'm simply going to have to be wondering whether or not if things are going to be okay or not. Not really. Not really. One can get distracted with the minor stuff down below, still worrying about what happens on the top. Because on the bottom, such as the rest of us bottom feeders, we're not up with the elite. We can't fight the elite. We were told we can't fight them. It's illegal. Well, I remember history. Well, I'm sorry. Are we allowed to learn history? Are we allowed to understand history? Are we allowed any history at all? Are you allowed any speech of any kind to learn or be part of history? Well, are you? Don't ask me. You're the ones who voted the idiots in there, so it's going to be up to you guys. I'm staying out of it. They say you voted in the devil you know or the devil you don't know. Well, people didn't like Harris as much because they thought she was Biden. She took over from Biden because Biden couldn't do it physically to run the election to get back in office to do a second term. There was no way in hell. His body and his brain, old age will do that to you, wore him out. His spirit may have been willing, but the body and the flesh were weak. It just happens. So now we got senility running its way, and people bought a hook, line, and suckered. As I said before, I blame the voters because they didn't want to learn. They heard the sound boxes going over and over and over and over and over. And it's like watching somebody in front of a revolving, spinning black and white wheel. Isn't it nice? And we're like, really? Yeah, we programmed. Well, guess what? We got programmed. Now what you gonna do? How do you deprogram from that? Meanwhile, the rich guys are laughing their asses off, saying, "See what we did to him? Ha!" Yeah, but you guys voted the shit in. Now what you going to do?